Okay, so here we are back for part two, and we're going to finish cleaning up this heart so that we can turn it into an SVG file that will cut with our laser. So the first thing that I want to do, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and I'm going to show you what I want to get rid of. I want to get rid of this little thing right here because that is exactly how the laser will cut this heart if we were to save it as is now. So we're going to start to clean up this little heart. And the first thing that I want to do is we're going to simplify this line drawing, because when we draw this out and the computer reads it, it's going to have all of these little dots, and I'll show you what that looks like. All of these little dots that it's reading one at a time to cut this, and those are called editing points. So I'm going to double click on this and it's going to open up a box. All I have to do is double click it, but you can see all of these little dots. And it's going to open up this box because we can move these things, and this is how I create all my wonky stuff, but that's for later. We can move all these things around to change the way that this heart looks. But I want to really clean it up and get rid of those. So I'm just going to click on simplify, and it's going to take away 90% of those. And so even just clicking on simplify, I think cleaned that up just a little bit, but I still want these things to come together. Now, if I double click on this, you'll see that this does have an editing point, and I can do this one of two ways. I can click on this editing tool here, or this editing point, and you're going to see this little thing. This allows me to move lines. I'm going to hit my backspace button because I don't really want to move that way. I can zoom in on this and I can just scooch this over and maybe meet these two in the middle. If I click off of it, you can barely see that there's actually still a loop there. So I'm going to leave that, okay, just like that. And now I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to fill this with color, and then I'm going to trace it again to get rid of that. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go up here to my color panel. There's also one, sorry, zoom over here. There's also one over here, but I have the shortcut one up here. So you can see these little lines tell me that there's no color, and this is the outline, and it's outlined in red. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and fill this heart with black, because that will give the tracing tool the best trace area, you know, all that color. So now I'm going to click off of this so that it doesn't have a line anymore. Whoops, did I get rid of that? Yeah, so we don't want a line around that anymore. Okay, and now I'm going to come back over here to my trace tool and select trace, and then I got my little crosshairs here, and I'm going to drag around this heart, and you see how it fills right up. And I'm going to move that really good over here. So I'm trying to fill up that little divot there, and I'm going to trace the outer edge, because if I hit trace, I might get that little thing back here. So now really all I want is the outer edge. So I'm just going to hit trace outer edge, and then I'm going to move this out of the way. And now you can see that if we zoom back in here, that little divot that I had there is gone. So now just to make sure that this is nice and clean, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to double click on this again, and I'm just going to click simplify, and there we have it. Okay, so now when you're saving as an SVG file, you really only need lines. We don't need any color in here. So you can have this line be whatever you want, the line color. I like to, decide before I save it what thickness of wood I'm going to cut it out of. And you know that if it's green, that's 1/2 inch. If it's red, it's 1/4 inch. If it's blue, it is 1/8 inch. So what if I don't want that so big now? That's okay. I can just come over here. I just clicked on it, highlight it, and I'm going to shrink it down to as big as I want it. So this little box here will tell me that that's 3 inches tall by almost 3 inches wide. So what if I want a couple of these? What if I want a big one and a little one? So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to bring it down here and make it a little bit bigger. Now you can do other things. You can stretch this to be taller if you want. So then you can move this around. Maybe you want this to be on top of here. So you can bring these two together so that you could have a layered heart. There's all kinds of things that you can do once you get your pieces in there. But now we want to save these so that our laser will cut that. So in Silhouette Studio, you do have the option of saving this as an SVG file. So you're just going to come up here to File, and you're going to come down to Save As. We're going to save it to the hard drive, and it's going to say, well, where do you want to save it? I'm going to come up here to the Cut and Club files. I'm going to double click there. Now, it's trying to save it as a Silhouette Studio version 3 file. We don't want that because our laser isn't going to cut that. So we're going to click on this drop down box and we're going to save it as an SVG file. Save, and then we want to name it. I already have one up there, so we're going to call this Heart Trace 2. And okay, and now when I go back over here into the Cut and Club files, there it is. Now remember, if I open this up here, I'm not gonna, oh, I actually can see it. So it depends on where it is on the page. So there is our SVG file, and we can close that out. And if we come back over here into Silhouette Studio, we're gonna open up a new tab. We're gonna come up here to File, Merge, and double click, and there's our heart. So now we have that saved as an SVG file. If you have any questions or you want more tutorial, then let me know. I'm going to go ahead and save this as part 2, and I'll see you in the next lesson for something. Have a great day.